Welcome to the Snippets podcast, where we have interesting chats with normal people or normal chats with interesting people. This week we've got Max Garrety. So I know a bit about you from cutting your hair for a few years. You started out in the RAF?
Yeah, so I went into officer training at 19 and then went off to train to be a pilot. And I was so good that they removed me from that stream and put me in the back seat. So I became a navigator, but then sadly lost my medical category to fly.
All right.
And was grounded off the Tornado and sat there working out what to do with my life, because from the age of 4, what I wanted to do was fly jets. And you know, this was just after Top Gun came out, the original one. And it was an amazing job. It was brilliant. It was everything I sort of wanted it to be, but then it ended way too soon. And what do I do next? So the second love was tanks. I just like blowing stuff up, really. And so I went off to agricultural college and did a degree in estate management and joined the reserve cavalry. And then looked at surveying jobs, which I didn't really like. Went off to Germany and served over there in tanks for a few years, and then back in the UK, and then left and went into property. But it got to 2009, and I wasn't enjoying it. The kids were young. So went back into the army, really, full-time as a staff officer. Sort of, if you go back to Blackadder and you think of Captain Darling, I'm sort of a bit more senior Captain Darling. And probably just as unpleasant.
See, that's funny, because the whole point of this podcast for me is for people to get to know interesting things. Because I sit in this room and talk to people like you, but we get brief sort of half an hour every month or so.
Yeah.
So I didn't really know any of that. That you went in and then you came into Civvy Street and go back into the army. I mean, do you think you got into that in the first place then? Because obviously you liked the idea of flying jets and all that kind of, or was it part of like when you were younger?
So
did you like discipline? Did you like the sort of career path? Or
I like a disciplined sense of order, but the other side of me hates it. So when I was 4, my grandmother lived up in the north of Scotland. And when I was 4, I remember sitting on a beach and a military jet flew over at RAF Lossiemouth. And I said to my dad, "What's that?" And he told me. I went, "That's what I want to do." And the problem was, well, no, it was good. So the determination was, it never wavered.
Yeah.
But equally, I was so blinkered, I didn't really consider anything else. It was going to be that or tanks, just because it's probably some Freudian thing about being a complete coward, that you need to hide behind missiles, guns and bombs.
Yeah.
No, but actually, it was just exciting. And it really hard work in an aeroplane. Everything's challenging. It was a very different environment in an aeroplane because you don't have many people to manage, whereas in the army, you get a lot more people to manage. And it's an amazing, I suppose, privilege having soldiers to manage, whether regulars or reservists. Everyone's got different motivations. But you're having an effect on someone's life, and that's huge. And it's interesting that from the day I commissioned at the age of 19, that responsibility still remains equally as valid today at my ripe old age. And what I do find funny is now having 2 sons who are older than me when I went off to start my officer training. How I look at them and equally how they look back at me.
Do you think that they, obviously I know your sons,
yes,
the wife,
yes,
cutting her hair.
Yeah, everyone comes here.
Everyone else should come here too. I mean, the world's changed. So what they would encounter now, I would imagine as a young recruit, would be different to what you went through. Is there the same sort of skills, or do you think that's changed?
No 2 days are the same ever in history. And it is a very different environment. When I joined, it's interesting, when you chat to your peer group, a lot of people say, "Oh, I wouldn't join now." Looking at the the boys and girls going through Sandhurst at the moment, you think, wow, they're really good and a lot more informed, I think. Probably social media and a different environment.
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah.
When I joined, I went off, I had a squadron or regiment, and, the old bold was saying, "Oh, it's all like when we joined." And we're doing that now today. I think it's cyclical. It just goes on and on and on and perpetuates to a point that, nothing's the same.
I suppose you've got to adapt, haven't you, to what it is now, even in this part of your career.
I think it's interesting that we don't adapt to our peril because if I look at the process I have to go through as a staff officer and the amount of documentation and endless paperwork I have to work through, trying to get today's generation to do that is wrong. Because if we buy something new in the house or for the car or whatever, within 5 minutes, my kids have worked out how to do it without a manual or anything else.
Yeah.
And if you set them a problem, they'll just go on TikTok or Chat GPT or whatever these days.
Well, someone solved it for them, though, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's.
And is that a bad thing? I think it's a bad thing in a way that it's like learning to play guitar. You could go on YouTube now, pick up a guitar, and work out how to do a song pretty simply. But what you're not doing is going through the pain.
It's the death of creation, isn't it?
It is, exactly.
Because it's one of my things. The death of boredom, because of not ever being bored enough to work something out, is the death of creation, isn't it?
Exactly right, yeah. And you've got to learn how to be bored. You've got to be bored to understand. It's really interesting, isn't it? The perspective. What did I want when I was their age, and what do they want?
I mean, in the army and stuff now, do the young guys, are they allowed phones and things when
they've got their own rooms, their downtime. I think if I go back 30 odd years, there was quite a drinking culture that would finish flying or whatever, or parties in the mess and this kind of stuff, and it was a lot of focus around not getting wasted or anything, but it was a strong drinking culture, and it provided a bit more cohesion to the group. Whereas we tend to find now that a bit more cerebral, and they're not really into drinking as much.
They're not sort of socialised the same way. Do you not build that bond then? Do you think? So if it comes to the point where you need to be
the bond through gaming, you look at lockdown and all the rest of it. Look at my kids who were just, when they weren't doing schoolwork, they were hooked up with their mates playing games.
Yeah, right.
So they're still interacting socially. They're just doing it in a different way.
Yeah.
Rather than behind a bar.
It's true. Maybe it's, I don't know. It's that being with someone though, isn't it? That personal interaction.
Yeah.
thing.
Everything in life is about social interaction.
Yeah.
And if you could do anything, you can design anything, you can build anything. But if you don't speak to each other, you're screwed. And
outside of your work life, then have you always sort of kept up similar sort of hobbies and stuff outside of that? Because there's quite a change, I suppose, going from the military to sort of Civvy Street back into the military.
It's been on and off, but there's a couple of things that have been constant. I've always loved sailing, so I do bits of that, and cycling. Very own Tour de Yorkshire, but growing up in Yorkshire meant there was lots of hills, and I always loved going up hills, which is why I love Coombe Gibbet so much and everything else. But the other thing I did was my father and I he had an easel, and we'd go and paint together. And then I did art and history of art in sixth form, and then abandoned it because then going off to train to fly aeroplanes or whatever, art was a bit namby-pamby really, and that was a bit alpha male. But if I'm true to myself now, I always had that art mentality.
Do you think you sort of, when you were a young man in the military then, did you portray a different image?
So I would suggest that every single person in the world has a mask.
That's right. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah,
and I'm no different to that.
Yeah.
So and it's interesting that me at work is hopefully, probably has been at times, is never me at home.
Yeah,
and as much as I really loved certain parts of my you can call it career, it's a very unorthodox sort of series of occurrences. I like to have that separation. So I want to go and paint. I don't want to do what everyone else does. I don't want to be, half the time I don't really want to be around people, to be honest. And and that's a beauty I can get from cycling. It's a beauty I can get from going out and painting, or just or music. All of those are really important to me. None of that's changed. That's been a constant. So there's definitely a mask of what I'm like at work, and it's interesting that how a lot of people see me at work is if you ever saw me at home, they go, "Oh my God."
Do you think you sort of, because you've come into here before in your uniform, do you feel that when you're in your uniform, you kind of do you feel sort of like different, or do you feel kind of like more empowered? Or when you get to the level that you've got to, there is a bit of an achievement there, isn't there? And it's like an outward sign of like, you know, people look at you probably differently, right? When you're walking down the street.
You're absolutely right. So I think for so many years, and it's all in the thing. So from the start in the Air Force, you put a flying suit on. You know, Top Gun was what, 2 years old.
I suppose that's like an absolute.
So
that was gold, wasn't it?
That was
around
great.
that time. Arriving on a motorbike, no helmet.
Yeah, sadly couldn't do that, and nor did I have a call sign like Maverick. Or Charlie Fox.
Did you have a like a nickname?
Charlie Foxtrot November 633. That was my call sign in pilot training. Catchy, isn't it?
I was trying to think whether there was some sort of like, whether you connect all those letters together, you could make a.
No,
so it's not that glamorous.
You have nicknames, and some of them are not terribly.
Dispelling the rumours is the RAF or flying life. Was that like Top Gun?
It was harder, and we probably weren't quite as attractive. The others at it, I was all right.
Yeah.
But we're sort of like Poundland versions, Maverick and Goose and Iceman and that.
That's it. Real people, real versions.
Yeah, real versions. But it's interesting, you know, you do judge yourself by your peers. So I remember going to a party a few years back, and people were going, "So you used to do that?" And I went, "Yeah." They're going, "That's amazing." I said, "Well, it is and it isn't. It is, I suppose, if you were to work in a shop or whatever, and day in day out behind a checkout, not that I'm taking anything away, because everyone's does whatever they do to get through life. But I chose to do that, and people go, "Wow, that was glamorous," but actually it wasn't, because I judged myself against people who were better at that, or because you're quite shallow in your young years, who were better looking, and you think they've got everything, and as I said before, it's not until you 40s really you get to know yourself. And even then onwards, you start to get more comfortable with yourself. And so you don't need that mask. You don't need to feel empowered behind a uniform. I can slob around the house in shorts and T-shirt when it's warm, and just be happy with my lot, really.
Yeah,
and
that's it, isn't it? I suppose that comes with maturity, doesn't it, and age and stuff. I mean, do you think that, like, well, obviously you had the uniform and all that back then, was like hair, and obviously the military, it's got to be high and tight, right? But like, did you guys like have, was it quite important to you then? Like, the whole look?
I'd love to say no, but I mean, there's an old joke, isn't it? How do you spot a fighter pilot in a bar?
Right.
He'll tell you. And image is absolutely everything. And particularly when you had films like that coming out at the time.
Everyone wanted to be a bit Tom Cruise, though, I suppose.
A bit Tom Cruise, a bit Val Kilmer, kind of hair and slick and all that.
I suppose it depends if you were more Val or more Tom. Is there sort of a certain, like, side of the bar?
Yeah, I was probably more Goose after the crash.
Stay with me, Goose.
Yeah. So I always had an adage, and there's always been an adage that you don't need to be high and tight. You see things like US Marines that have got ridiculously short.
Is that like something that we would view from the outside then? It's like, as a person that goes, "Oh, well, all military haircuts are like short." And
that's the perception.
The perception, yeah, really.
But I've always said what I can get under my hat is my own.
Okay.
And as long as it's around the ears and the back, and even then I'll push it. Yeah. And I think it's quite funny that if you look at certain elements of the army, perhaps, and and I was in the cavalry, that our hair was a bit longer than most at times, not all the time, but I come here, I get pretty much the same haircut.
I don't know. There's a few.
There's a slight variation. Yeah,
I suppose the key elements are the same, aren't they?
Yeah.
Do you remember a specific haircut? Not from me, maybe, but like over the years, like that. Maybe you were somewhere a bit random, or somewhere that, like, one that sort of sticks out, or maybe like when you were a kid. Do you remember? Like, I always find this quite interesting with clients. Their early haircuts often dictate how the rest of their life goes with hair. Like, if their mums made them cut their hair really short when they were little, they always try and hold on to a bit of length. Or if their mums made them grow it, say they were a little boy and they had long hair, they're like, "Oh, for God's sake, I need to cut this off now." Like, and I'm like, when was that? And they're like, "Oh, when I was about 10, and now they're like 55." And you're like, "Wow, okay." I find it quite. So do you remember any of that? Like, your haircuts when you were a kid or anything?
So I do, and inevitably it was short back and sides.
Do you remember the name of the person that did it?
No.
Oh, really?
No,
So I
not
like
at
to
all.
think I leave an indelible print on people and I don't forget. But
I vaguely remember your name, and
mate.
yeah, mate. But going back, no, there was someone in the village who did it, and I can still remember, the barber shop, but I can't remember his name. And then when you were posted from base to base, you'd have somebody do your hair.
Yeah. Was there someone on the base that would do it?
Back then, there was inevitably somebody who had a little contract and
Right.
come along and come out with the clippers and
Okay.
and do that. Clippers are a big feature, and which is where I then bought my own set of clippers in order that I could do my dog at the time. But equally, lockdown, hey, kids, your hair's getting long. I've got clippers. I did my own hair.
What did you do in that? Did you do your own?
Yeah, I did, and then I had to come in and see you to get it unclip it out.
What about the boys?
I think I had a pop at them both, They never forgave me.
Do you think you could have done anything like this?
So it is one of those thoughts that crosses my mind. Not that I want to go and do this, but I do that about every job.
Yeah.
I look at a vet and go, I'd probably do that actually.
Yeah.
And save a lot of money on the cat.
Yeah.
But could I do this? Yeah, it's an arty thing. And it's like chefing, isn't it? It's producing something. And it must be quite a pressure. I mean, the good thing about hair, for me, certainly probably more for females than men, it grows out fairly rapidly.
Yeah.
And if you get it wrong, you're in a bit of a world of pain, aren't you?
Well, this is the thing I'd find interesting with art, and one of my friends is a tattoo artist. It's people like you as well, because for anyone that doesn't know, Max also does art, like we mentioned, but you gave me this amazing painting for Christmas, and it captures the moment. Like, it's a picture of Coombe Gibbet. When I first saw it, I thought it was a picture, because it was my mind's eye of that. It's Coombe Gibbet. If anyone cycles around here, they'll see this picture and they'll know what I'm talking about. It's that indelible print that you've done it and that's it. Whereas my art, I suppose, is you do it, but you always get another chance, which I find fascinating with the tattoos, with art.
Yeah.
How do you, even with, I make music and I can always go back and re-record a piece, but once you've done what you guys do with art, it's that like, there's no pressure on what I do because you can get another go, but yours is like that moment has to be captured. When do you kind of know that it's done and you don't go back anymore?
I think that's one of the biggest questions for anyone who produces art in any way at all. It's much like writing a song, isn't it? Where do you stop?
Yeah.
And my big problem is that if I compare art to music, and I know we've discussed this in the past, Coldplay's first album was good. The second album was brilliant. The third album was good. Fourth onwards, hey, it's Coldplay. It's become formulaic.
Yeah.
The one thing I never want to do is become formulaic in what I do, because there's times where you can dab paint on the canvas and go, God, that's good. I really
feel
like
that
that.
straight away then, like from the moment you do the first few brush strokes.
There's some days you're really in the zone, other days you're not. So I did something this week, started on a canvas of Honfleur. And I love Honfleur because I love the tall buildings around the harbour. So I started doing straight lines with tape and everything. And I looked at it and I went, ugh, it's flat, it's horrible. And whereas probably a day ago it really appealed to having a sense of order.
Yeah.
And now I just think it's crap. So I want to, and it was an acrylic, so I want to go back and do it in oil or just paint over it in oil and have thick impasto oil, because that's probably a bit more me, really.
Yeah.
A bit messy.
Yeah.
But it's just to try stuff. So when I did one of the beach back home in Scotland, and then I had a friend who's in the Marines, he came around, he paints, and he looked at it a bit and he went, oh, I love what you did there. And I went, what? He went, that bit there. And I said, I like that bit there.
Yeah.
Because that was deliberate.
Yeah.
And he went, yeah, that's good, but I really love what you did there. How do you do that? And I went, I didn't do it. I painted it, but it was no intention of doing that.
Yeah.
It was utterly random. And
But that's the beauty of it, isn't it? Like the subjective nature of it. But
It is.
How do you accept? I don't know. It's difficult. I've never really done any thing like that.
Yeah.
But how do you sort of accept that what you're doing is good?
I don't
You're
think-
always striving to do something a bit better. A bit like you're saying with your career as well. You never
Yeah.
rest on your laurels. You're always trying to push it a bit. And I suppose the moment that you think you've cracked it, that's the end of it, isn't it, really?
it is, yeah, because, absolutely right. And what was interesting, so when I went and did a wildcard entry on that, on Sky Landscape Artist of the Year last year, I really hated it because it was forcing me into a position that I didn't really want to be. Whereas But actually, sometimes you need that discipline of a kick up the arse to make you go and paint something. And
Do you
it's
ever know what you want to paint? Like,
No.
it's like you put it down.
Yeah, no, I do know what I want to paint,
Yeah.
but it's a bit like life. I suppose it's a bit like going back to how I envisaged my career flying jets. I thought it was going to be an amazing fighter pilot and all the rest of it. But it never works out. You've got an idea looking at the canvas of what you think you're going to be.
Yeah.
But when you start on it, you start to realize that either I can't do that or actually I can do that. And that's really good. But that doesn't work out. And the good thing about painting is that if it turns into a bag of spanners, you can paint over it.
Yeah, it's true.
And start again.
Yeah.
Whereas some things in life you absolutely can't, much like your friend, he's a tattoo artist.
Yeah. No,
If you screw that up on someone's skin, you're in a bit of pain, aren't you, really?
Yeah, but he said to me once, like, I don't know how you do what you do. So how do you get it, like, that bit goes there and then that bit's there and then you do it the same. But then I'm like, how do you draw that thing on my leg that looks like what I gave him? And he's like, oh, it's just what I do, mate. And it's that, it goes down to that, doesn't it? I suppose you get, I don't know, you just get good. I don't know, do you ever get good at what you do? But you just continue to get better.
As you said earlier, I think if you get to a place where you think I'm good at what I'm doing,
Yeah,
it's not a good place. You've got to have something further to strive to. It's interesting you said that when you looked at my painting of Kim Chibbett, it looked was like a photograph, and that in a way that's quite flattering, but equally it's not.
Yeah,
because I didn't want to paint what I see. The reality.
I think I said to you before, though, that's what it was in my brain. It clicked that because it was maybe a photo is not the way to put it, but it was an image that I've got in my head.
Oh, that's
like
good.
that snapshot.
If you get that feeling and you go, oh yeah, wow, that's it.
I think, like I said, if you put that in a cycling cafe around here, everyone would go, well, I know what that is. Because we've all stood there on our bikes and all had probably the same feeling, like that euphoria of the moment of getting to the top of the hill.
See, you're becoming like Hen now. You're going, oh, put it in a cafe. You can get loads of money.
It's not going in a cafe because it's going in my conservatory. So because I want it, because when I'm on my bike train, I want to be able to see it. And I'll be like, you're always going for the crest of the hill.
Cool.
But that's what I mean. Like but that's art, isn't it?
Yeah.
I see that and I feel that, but I think that a lot of people would also feel the same. I've actually got some questions. I put on Instagram, if you were presenting a podcast, what would you ask someone? And I was expecting some jokey ones, some silly ones, but someone asked me to ask whoever was coming on, what advice would you give yourself? So if you could give 16-year-old Max any advice, what would it be?
There was an incident that meant that I couldn't fly anymore. I'd probably advise myself on that. But apart from that, I just wouldn't. Because I think you're under enough pressure in life to go through with that either nagging doubt, nagging wife, not my wife nags, nagging kids, friends, bosses, all the rest of it. And that no 2 days are ever going to be the same.
Yeah.
So you can be the most experienced person in the world and specialist about whether a surgeon or whatever. But the decision you make will be at that one instant as you find it in the circumstances. And that will never be replicated ever again in the history of time.
Yeah.
There's too many other peripheral bits extending beyond that. So I think the only bit of advice I would give myself, and I've tried to pass this on to
I was going to say, would you tell your kids this, would you?
Yeah. Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
That is it. That's it. And if you're not a dick, everything else is, you'll generally be all right.
Yeah.
But you will be a dick or you will make mistakes because if you don't, you never learn.
Yeah.
And I think today's society, it's too easy now to be under such pressure as to not make mistakes.
Yeah.
But you only learn from your mistakes. Wet paint, do not touch. Oh, look, it's wet.
Yeah.
It's human nature.
Yeah.
The more rules you give someone, the more opportunity there is to break them, or the more the temptation is to break them. But you've got to try stuff and you've got to fail. And failure is not a bad thing. It's really interesting. I've just finished a great book that I would definitely recommend you read. Everyone should read this book. It's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving Up.
Yeah.
and by Mark Manson, an American bloke. Happiness is not an end state. Happiness is not a value because it's subjective day to day.
Yeah.
You know what you want to do. You know what you want to achieve. The question you've got to ask yourself is, how much pain am I prepared to go through to get to that end state?
Right.
If I want to be a pilot, I want to be an artist, I want to be a guitarist, I want to, be the world's best hairdresser, all these kind of things. What pain am I prepared to and sacrifice am I prepared to make?
Yeah.
And if you can hand on heart address that, knowing that you're going to mess up and accept messing up, it's going to be a better place. But equally, you might never get to being the best at what you want to be.
Isn't it? Yeah.
It's just life, isn't it? And it doesn't need to be a happy ending in life.
Yeah, maybe that's a British thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or it's just a human thing, isn't it? Everyone's looking for that happy ending, aren't they?
Yeah.
It doesn't really exist, does it?
No. And because you're so focused on trying to find the happy ending, you're missing the happy bits that are passing you by.
Yeah, true.
Those good little days or those good little moments in a day that you go, that's great fun, actually.
I've got a couple of closes, and one of the questions is, it was a sort of double header, but if you could have your hair cut by anyone, you've got a half an hour appointment with one person, and there's going to be a song playing on the stereo to set the kind of like mood. So who would the person be, and also what would that song be?
So I think the person would probably be Van Gogh, but I'd love to know what was going on in his head. And I love the vulnerability and the mindless optimism of his painting. And I think that's really important. It's just extraordinary. Clearly sitting in a hair salon, the last thing I want is my hair getting chopped off.
I was going to say, be careful on Van Gogh.
But apart from that, or drinking absinthe for that matter. But yeah, I think that'd be really interesting. And playing in the background, beyond any doubt whatsoever, would be Supper's Ready by Genesis.
Really?
Yeah. And that would pretty much last the entire 30 minutes, if it's the current Steve Hackett version of Supper's Ready that we saw last year. Yeah. What I love is a complete dedication to the cause, whether it's Van Gogh to his paintings, whether it's Genesis to their music, but it's, or whether it's Stuart Lee with his comedy. It's knowing that someone's worked really hard and not just produce something that's fairly superficial, but is in depth. Stuart Lee, it's extraordinary the depth he goes into, and some people don't find him funny or think it's comedic, but it absolutely is when you know the full context of that. So I love going to see him. I love watching and listening to good music, and I love watching other painters as well. I like to see what they see and then how they put that on canvas or paper.
So we have to end on a proper hairdressing question, which I'm going to ask everyone.
Cool.
What are you doing this weekend?
Going to Yorkshire.
Ah, very nice.
Probably go cycling tomorrow, and then Sunday we're going out to the north of Scotland on Monday, but we're seeing Yorkshire on Sunday night. So go and do that, really. And nice. And hope that the youngest feeds the cat while we're away.
Good. Well, Max, thanks, mate, for coming in and.
No, pleasure.
This is the pilot episode, you see.
Yeah.
Because you are.
Oh, pilot episode. I see what you did there.
It's been good to have a chat, and it's been nice to get to know you a bit better, mate.
Yeah, cheers, Nick, and thanks for finally giving me a coffee.
No, after all I think I gave an espresso once.
Once, yeah. That was,
well, I know what you want now every time you come in, so
perfect.
we're waiting for you.
Excellent.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah.